Thank you. Brent, doing project 1.2, is that right? So for the benefit of our members, newer members and some of our guests, Brent is actually a longtime Toastmaster that's working his way back through through a new program, basically. So he's essentially starting from the beginning with a very easy project for somebody with as much speaking experience as you have. So because of that, I'm not using the evaluation form that they gave us for this because really, I mean, yeah. So what he was required to do with this is it was basically a presentation on research and presenting his research. So he was asked to provide a well-organized and well-delivered speech, which I think you did, very well organized. You told the timeline of Jack Kirby. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style a member chooses. The project is not a report on the content of the actual project of how to do a research presentation. But I actually think you did a very good job with the speech, and I know I'm just giving you a hard time because it is a rather more elementary speech for somebody of your speaking capabilities, but I think it's always a good idea to kind of revisit these early projects because it helps us to brush up on a lot of our skills. There are a lot of things I think you did very well, which I would expect from a very experienced speaker. Did anybody notice his mistakes during that speech? He actually had two. He had 2 or 3 pretty big ones. So there was the pre-Kobe Freudian slip there. But as an experienced speaker, he covered it up well. He made a joke about it. He moved on with the speech. It didn't throw him, and he still was able to confidently finish a speech, which was excellent. That shows maturity as a speaker when because things are going to mess up when you're up here. You just got to roll with it, and he rolled with it beautifully. Also, when you engaged the audience at the opening with Who Knows Stan Lee, and you said, hey, not as many hands as I would have expected to do that too. And you kind of adjusted your speech based on that because I think you realized you weren't talking to a comic book crowd at that point too, which did help out. Your transitions were seamless. You went right from Jack Kirby's life to Stan Lee, back to Jack Kirby, and then answered some of the questions on the why this was important. And you knew your material very, very well. I also noted, too, that this was a lectern speech, which is something that typically we'll ask members to step away from the lectern when they give their speeches because it shows more confidence. But on certain speeches, and this was a good example, of one to do behind the lectern and to stay there. It was a nice informational speech where you didn't have to really go all crazy with any hand gestures or motions or really trying to get out there in the audience. Now, that being said, there are a couple things that I think you may want to work on. First of all, you did go over time, like I'm pretty sure I'm going to as well. Second thing is your pacing was perfect for me, which usually means it's a bit fast for everybody else. I think you could probably work in a couple more pauses, let some of the information sink in. It did kind of feel like you were just giving us all this news and all this information. And there's a saying as well that, nerds are, and being a nerd, I can say this too, nerds are antisocial, and that's not true. They socialize past the point of comfort if you give them a topic they're good at. Brent's is comic books. So that was kind of what we got, and I understand how excited you are about this because I'm also excited, but be aware that some people in your audience are going to go, oh yay, comic books. So just be aware of that. Now, to challenge with this, it was a very informational speech, and I know Jack Kirby is something of an idol of yours, like you really respect his work. So if I were to give this speech again, and basically saying if you were to give this speech again, I'd actually like to see you make it where you're celebrating his life, where it's more, you're eulogizing and really celebrating even the impact that it had on you. I think it would give it a bit more of an emotional connection for you, and it's going to be natural for you because it's somebody that you already respect. And like I said, I'm going over time too. Brent, good job. Thank you.